Okay. Almost time to go after Beta and Gaia. Might be good to check up on everyone first.
Did you need something? Bravo. You managed to sway a Zenith to your side. Care to explain?
Not a chance. I thought you said the weapon was ready.
There's always room to optimize. But that's not why you're here. I assume you want to comprehend my undertakings. So, ask away.
Since when were you so forthcoming?
Since you turned this into a waiting game. And as it seems you have found modest success, perhaps I'm willing to be generous.
Okay, so your big plan, everything you've been manipulating for the last few months. Let me see if I got this straight. You learned about the Zeniths from Hades when you interrogated it. Then you came up with a plan to defeat them by using a Tenakth army and that weapon. And to get the Tenakth to fight for you, or rather the Sons of Prometheus, armed Regalla's rebels with override tech.
Did you have an actual question, or are you still playing catch-up?
So all this time, even before I found the coordinates at the Spire, you were out here scheming. Why couldn't you just tell me?
When I learned of the Zenith's return to Earth, I laid out my plans. I knew I would one day require an army of overzealous Tenakth to assault the Zenith base. The casualties would be extreme. And I knew you would never allow such a sacrifice, no matter how necessary. Thus, I devised a means to remove your interference from the equation. At the Hades Proving Lab.
You wanted me to surrender to the Zeniths at the Hades Proving Lab. They almost killed me.
Based on everything I knew about them, I concluded they would find you a useful asset, thereby keeping you out of harm's way and, more importantly, out of my way.
So you really didn't know they had their own clone of Elizabeth?
No. Unfortunately, there was no way I could have known that particular detail.
Detail? Well, I guess if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here today. Tell me about the weapon. How does it work?
I've upgraded the delivery system. It now emits a wave-like effect covering a significant distance.
That doesn't fully answer my question.
No, but I'd be a fool to reveal its inner workings. After all, why did you withhold your plan for dealing with the Zenith drones? Yes, even you can appreciate the value of secrecy when warranted. Suffice it to say that the weapon will work. The intricacies of how is knowledge that is mine alone.
Why create the Sons of Prometheus? You didn't need a bunch of Oseram tinkerers to make override tech.
They were a necessary safeguard. My time serving Hades and the Eclipse demonstrated the risks of getting directly involved. Through the Sons of Prometheus, I could execute my plans, all while remaining anonymous.
Why help Regalla take over? If you wanted an army, you could have just gone to Hekarro.
Before Regalla's rebellion, Hekarro was only concerned with battling machines and fostering friendships with the Karja. Even if I gained his ear, he would never agree to send his forces to battle a threat he couldn't understand.
So helping a bloodthirsty exile was easier.
Yes, exceedingly so. All Regalla craved was war against the Karja and anyone who threatens the Tenakth. She would have led the tribe into battle without question, which was precisely what I needed.
While I was out there, I had a couple run-ins with the Quen.
The tribe from across the ocean. And?
Their entire tribe was shaped around the discovery of focuses. One of them, Alva, even joined me here. Don't you want to know more about them?
No. They stumbled upon the greatest technological artifact from the ancient world, and what did they do with it? They shrouded the knowledge they unearthed in mysticism and taboo, creating a pantheon out of corporate shills.
Yes, well, it also led them to Thebes.
Did it now?
So those run-ins with the Quen I mentioned. On one of them I teamed up with their expedition to search Thebes. We found Pharaoh at the end.
You must have needed Omega clearance. So, what was it like?
Worse than you can imagine.
He single-handedly wiped out collective human knowledge. I'm sure it was still less than he deserved.
Let me guess. You would have scraped him into a jar so you could prod his brain, like what you did with Hades.
For a start.
All right, Silence. I think I've talked to you long enough. I'll let you know when it's time to go. And try not to mess with Tilda while you're in here, okay? I don't need the two of you butting heads.
Ah, yes. About your Zenith ally. I wonder if you understand what kind of person you're dealing with. For someone to live as long as she has, outlast as many calamities, well, your goals may be aligned now, but I'd watch for the moment they diverge.
Yeah, I'm aware. Reminds me of someone else I know.
Survival is only a necessity to my greater purpose, Aloy. I'd hoped you'd recognize that by now.
Do you know something or not?
Oh, I know a great deal of things. But on this, just call it a feeling.
Oh, a feeling? You mean you finally had one? Huh. Guess even you can change, Silence.
Aloy, maybe speak?
So, you return.
You nervous?
I'd be lying if I said I'm not slightly apprehensive.
The plan will work, if we all focus on our assignments.
Right. Oh, and if you have a moment, there's something I could use your help with.
You mentioned there was something you needed help with?
Yes. So, as I was sifting through data from the greenhouse, I found references to an old world system back in the Great Delta. It's called Leviathan. My people discovered it decades ago. A sprawling network of river gates and a labyrinth of underground tunnels. The legacy revealed that the old ones used it to control flooding. But we've never gotten it to work. The whole thing is shut down. But the data from the greenhouse mentions the research facility where Leviathan was created. It's in San Francisco.
Another Pharaoh facility?
No. Leviathan was a project by Eileen Sasaki, another ancestor. So the legacy tells us, anyway. If we can acquire that data, we might be able to fix the system back in the Great Delta. Every year, my sister gets terrified when the long rains begin. With Leviathan, maybe she won't have to be.
Okay. So, where in San Francisco is this facility?
That's the thing. The data doesn't say where, exactly. But one of our diviners has been exploring the ruins. He might know. Would you come with me? I have a feeling that wherever this facility is, well, you're much better at fighting machines than I am.
Of course. I'll let you know when I'm in landfall.
Thank you, Aloy.
I hope our new guests have been behaving.
This Silence, he's the one who built the weapon that can take down Zenith shields?
He is. Though I wouldn't expect him to answer any questions about it. He refuses to dole out his secrets to us lesser mortals.
Oh.
You know that special part of us that makes us warm, kind, welcoming?
Our spirit?
Yeah. He was born without that. I see you've been using your new focus.
It's been fascinating. So much better than the version the Quen have. What would have taken me years to sort through, like the database you helped me recover, with this, I've been able to establish search parameters to speed up the process. This could revolutionize how diviners analyze the legacy. That is, whatever part of it the overseers would actually let us study.
I suppose you saw that Tilda is here. Our very own Zenith.
I almost went up to her to ask her, well, every question I've ever had about the legacy. Every diviner I know would kill to get 5 minutes with one of the old ones. But now that she's here, all I feel is a vague unease. I don't know if I'm scared of finding out more uncomfortable truths, or just scared of her. Probably both.
Back at the greenhouse, you spoke of knowledge forbidden to your people.
Diviners are meant to seek out the truth in the legacy, and many Imperials sponsor them in the hopes they'll find something the Empire can put to use, thus gaining favor with the Emperor. But the Board of Overseers claims certain truths are detrimental to the stability of the Empire, like discovering one of our revered ancestors ended the world. That is why diviners are only allowed to access segments of the legacy. Only overseers can view it all. It ensures that any heretical data can be contained and retrieved before it can spread.
What happens to diviners who break the rules?
I never had the courage to ask.
You said you owed me an explanation for what happened in Thebes. I'm listening.
Right. I'll start at the beginning, with the CO. He was an Imperial, the Emperor's nephew, in fact. As such, he sponsored many diviners to search the legacy for anything that might help the tribe, and himself. He took a special interest in anything related to Ted Faro, whom we consider the greatest of the ancestors.
Ted Faro, revered ancestor. That's tough to take.
I know better now, of course. Anyway, the diviners discovered that Pharaoh spent a great deal of time in San Francisco. In fact, many of the most important ancestors did. So the Emperor's nephew convinced him that an expedition across the ocean might solve our most pressing problems. If only we could find the right data in this fabled city. Perhaps we could roll back the floods and storms that threatened our people. The Emperor declared that all the tribe's resources be poured into this endeavor. Dozens of ships were built, scouting missions were dispatched, and the Emperor's nephew was named CO, one who wields the legacy for the good of the Empire. The living embodiment of Ted Faro, a renewer. It may seem strange now, but for a time, he carried all of our hopes. We really believed he would save us. We had no idea just how perilous the journey would be.
You mentioned the reason you came here was to help your family. Your sister...
Her name is Alika. Our parents are commoners, peasants, really. When I passed the divination exams, they were so proud. It brought honor to our family and increased rations. Only Alika begged me not to leave for the research academy.
Why? What happens there?
Alika knew that once you enter, you're not allowed to leave or see anyone, not even your family. Unless you can get special permission and an escort by an overseer.
It sounds harsh.
Like the focuses we keep, diviners are few in number, and the Empire is, well, fearful that outsiders will try to steal our knowledge. Last time I was allowed to see my family was just before our voyage here. Because of my position, I was able to get them refuge from the floods within the capital. But if our crops don't recover soon, they'll starve to death along with everyone else.
I promise I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't come to that. You said the expedition across the sea was more dangerous than you thought it would be. What happened?
We lost most of our ships to hurricanes, and scores of soldiers perished to hunger and disease. And that was before we even hit the coast. Once we landed, machines ripped our patrols apart, and we struggled to replenish our rations. There were bright spots, to be sure. We found Thebes and the greenhouse. But nothing improved the CEO's mood as his dreams of saving the tribe were slowly dashed. He became more and more obsessed with Thebes and what lay behind its door. And more convinced that the title of CEO was no mere honorific. You heard him, spouting nonsense about Pharaoh's essence and some kind of becoming. We knew these weren't the words of a sane man, but he was quick to put any who spoke out in front of a firing squad.
What a great guy.
The Quen are wrong about many things when it comes to the legacy. I can see that now. But what the CO became was a complete perversion of what principled diviners stand for. The pursuit of truth. I'm sorry you had to endure his madness. I'm just glad it's over. For everyone.
So, Bohai, your overseer. Will he run things better than CEO?
He won't execute people on a whim, if that's what you mean. But he's hardly a paragon of integrity. I can't tell you how many times he took credit for data in the legacy that I uncovered. The best thing I can say about him is that he can be trusted to always do what's best for him.
Yep, sounds about right. The ancestors, is that what your people call the old ones?
Yes and no. The ancestors are the greatest of the old ones. Those whose legacy taught us agriculture, medicine, warfare, leadership, and patronage of the science and arts.
The CEO called Elizabeth Sobek an assistant. What's that about?
Right. Well, any old one who has made minor contributions or worked extensively under one of the ancestors is called an assistant. That's how we thought of Sobek, until we met you. Our limited access to data past the late 2040s has obviously misinformed our view of the past.
I need to get going.
I'll be at the rendezvous point. May truth lead us to victory.
And, like I said, I'll let you know when I'm in landfall. We'll find the data you're after.
I appreciate it.
Haven't seen you since the battle at the Grove. How are you holding up?
I saw you fly on the wings of the Ten, and paralyze Regala's army with lightning. I would say that I am inspired.
Thank you, I guess.
It is I who should be thanking you. All that remains is to follow you to the end, whatever that will be.
We're lucky to have you on our side.
Oh, and by the way, I was hoping we could discuss that personal request I mentioned before, if you have the time.
You said there was something you wanted to talk about?
Gaia mentioned that the Zeniths bind metal with flesh to make themselves stronger. I was wondering if you'd help me do the same.
You want to make yourself a new arm?
Yes. Gaia insisted I could build such a thing if I can get the necessary data and materials. She believed these things lie in the place where Beta hid from the Zeniths.
Their ancient research lab.
I am not as familiar with old-world machinery as you are. I could use your assistance.
It might be dangerous. The Zeniths probably still keep an eye on that place. We were lucky to get out of there alive the first time.
I see.
But sounds like this is worth the risk.
By the 10, we shall see it through.
I heard my friend Talana came by the base. Did you get a chance to meet her?
Briefly. A bold woman going into Tenakth territory with that Karja armor of hers. She'll be lucky if my people don't shoot her on sight.
She'll be careful. She's just looking for someone who might need her help.
Whoever it is, they better be worth dying for.
Things will get ugly once the Zeniths realize we're in their base. You'll need every trick you've ever learned.
I would have it no other way. Many soldiers died in the old world to make sure we stood here today. We will endure on their behalf. Though, I am curious how you intend to defeat the Zenith's defenses without an army of our own.
Leave that to me. Just make sure you're ready to fight.
As you say. You have more than earned my trust.
Did you meet Tilda?
There is something about her that doesn't seem natural. I wouldn't be surprised if my sword went through her and she didn't bleed at all.
Honestly, with her, nothing would surprise me. I'll see you soon then.
It will be my honor.
I'll call you when I'm near the Zenith lab. We'll get what you need for that new arm of yours.
Thank you, Aloy.
There you are. Well done, Aloy. Despite my reservations, you managed to secure Silence and his weapon. You're truly a shining example of Liz's fortitude.
I've been thinking about what you said at your house. How you were friends with Elizabeth. It was more than that, wasn't it?
Perceptive as ever. You're right, we were together for a time.
Okay, so... what happened?
I was an orphan. I had always been alone. By my 30s, I was starting to wonder if that was simply my fate in life. And then I met Liz. We kept running into each other at conferences. We'd have coffee. At some point, it became drinks. I thought it was just shop talk, an exchange of ideas, but then I was surprised at how much I looked forward to seeing her. Soon we were flying halfway across the world every other week just to meet up. For the first time, I didn't feel lonely. I could imagine a future where I wasn't. I think Liz felt the same way at first. She had lost her mother a few years back. I filled a void for her. I know I did. But as time passed, it seemed as though she wanted less when I wanted more. And so we ended things.
So helping me. Restoring Elizabeth's dream. It's what?
A second chance, yes. I made a mistake leaving Earth while Liz stayed behind. I should have done more. So when I saw you, a woman who has carved her own remarkable path, beyond even what made Liz a phenomenon, I knew I had to help you. To do right by her.
Why do you think Elizabeth pulled away?
I've wondered that for 1,000 years. She was brilliant, visionary. She cared so deeply for the world, for the betterment of humanity. But it also felt like she kept everyone at arm's length, including me. She never wanted to share her burdens. I think, in the end, she had a core that she never let anyone be part of. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really knew her.
I found a recording of you and Elizabeth back in the proving lab after Farzineth's attempt to steal Gaia.
Yes. A most unpleasant conversation.
She said something after the call. I think she regretted how things ended between you.
Did she? All this time, thank you for telling me. I've always hated that those were the last words we ever said to each other. And that her last impression of me was as a functionary of Farzineth, not who I truly am.
What else can we expect to find in the Zenith base?
As I mentioned in the briefing, our goal will be the command center. That's where Beta and Gaia are being held. There are also printing facilities where the others have been amassing the natural resources they've stripped from the region.
What for?
First for use in the base's infrastructure, and then to fabricate more Spectre drones, a small army of them.
When I was out in the wilds, I saw a shuttle take off from the island, heading for space.
It was likely ferrying materials to and from our ship in orbit. After hundreds of years luxuriating in our digital comforts, the ship was barely space-worthy when we made our escape. Disaster can strike at any moment. We've learned our lesson.
So, Eric. Was he always a bloodthirsty psychopath?
I believe he got worse over time. On Earth, he was the founder of a profitable private military company. A band of cutthroats, in other words. Even as governments abandoned human combatants in favor of automated warfare. He found success with clientele that required a more personal touch. There were also rumors that he personally hunted and killed his targets. On occasion, all for the thrill of it. But on Sirius, he retreated to virtual reality simulations. In them, he could go on rampages as violent as he pleased, though I suspect with diminishing satisfaction.
What can you tell me about Gerard?
He was the head of the world's largest financial conglomerate, and as such had dealings with almost every major corporation. It made him one of the wealthiest people on Earth, and certainly the wealthiest among Farzineth.
What does one person do with that much money?
Buy more power, more influence. Gerard's always believed himself to be a refined patrician, able to maintain control with a polished smile. But beneath that exterior is a cold and calculating operator. It was his decision to restrict Beta's upbringing to her digital educators, the avatars of the Apollo database, while we were painted as her benefactors.
Well, we'll deal with him soon enough. And the others.
I would very much like to see his face when he realizes we've beaten him.
When Beta escaped and hid in an ancient research facility, I saw another one of the Zeniths. Verbena. Who was she?
A dull star amidst a sea of brighter constellations. Unlike most of Far Zenith's members who amassed their wealth through shrewd business deals and technological achievements, Verbena inherited her billions. Her father had achieved great success in the luxury holotourism industry. At age 24, she became the world's most eligible bachelorette, branding herself a life designer. Someone who leverages their fame to influence the choice of others.
What, like a cult?
In a way, yes.
Well, she must have done something right to have survived this long.
She was her own brand of ruthless. That much is true. But even rats can cling to a vessel for escape.
When I was in the ruins of Vegas, I found data on a man named Stanley Chen. I think he was a Zenith.
Stanley, ever the optimist. He was one of the good ones. When we established our colony, he built an exact replica of Las Vegas in virtual reality. Lights, shows, gambling, every detail perfectly recreated. And while others cloistered themselves in their own fantasies, he flung his doors wide to everyone.
The way you're talking about him, I'm guessing he didn't make it back to Earth.
No, he perished when our colony was destroyed. He would have been thrilled to discover that part of his beloved city survived.
Okay, so I've had run-ins with a handful of Zeniths. What about the rest?
An array of the wealthiest people on Earth. Titans of their industries.
And let me guess. All selfish and ruthless to the core?
Most, but not all. There were a few with whom I got along. Annika Murjani, for instance, was always delightful. She founded the Holonet's most successful dance channel and was herself mesmerizing to watch. And I had fascinating discussions with Song Jiao about her work in cellular biology. Our immortality treatments are due in part to her achievements. But then there were others like Devin Miller, the CEO of a fast food printing corporation. His only real preoccupations were perfecting his golf swing and taking self-hollows. When I think about all of us, we really should have accomplished more. We had eternity.
Okay. I'll let you know when it's time.
I'll be here until then. And thank you, Aloy, for giving me this chance. My past has always been a struggle. More than once I've lost everything. But when I look to the future, I see Liz's dream fulfilled. A universe of new possibilities.
Maybe we can make it happen.
We will. I won't let anything get in the way. I promise you that.
Aloy, we're ready to meet you at the rendezvous point whenever you call.
Fighting the Zeniths isn't going to be easy.
Nothing you do ever is. At least, now you don't have to do it alone.
Thanks.
Oh, I also wanted to give you this. For helping with the land gods. Plainsong is in your debt.
Thank you, Zoe.
You deserve much more for all you've done. May the land always bloom in your steps.
And yours? I should go. I'll let you know when I'm ready to head to the base.
Before you do, there is one favor I would ask of you.
What is it?
You place this focus in my care. and gave me the highest calling an Utaru has ever known. If I should fall in battle, I'd like you to be the one to bury my seed pouch. For the both of us.
So,
Make sure you stay alive to do so.
let's just try to all come back home. Okay?
Aloy, aren't we meeting at the beach near the Zenith base?
We are. I just wanted to check in on everyone first. We're finally doing this.
Never thought I'd be off on a mission to take down a bunch of immortals from the stars. I can hear the drinking songs already.
I guess I should get going.
I'll see you at the rendezvous point, with my hammer ready.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hey, Erend.